One of the other things and why we were texting the last 2 days, and I basically threw the Hail Mary out and asked if you would regularly come on. It seemed you've been top of mind this week for me, even more than when I just text you random stuff usually, is because it feels like the entire tours are so comeback centric right now, right? Like I was writing down the names and I'll miss a couple. So let me know what I miss, Kim and producer Mike. But it's like, okay, Nishikori, we're still talking about Wozniacki, Raducanu stopping and starting. It feels like there's always a comeback. Kerber coming back, Svitolina coming back. Team has been like this long comeback that doesn't look like it's going to end well at this point. I hope it does. Murray's been on this like 3-year, can I break through? I've come back and I'm at a certain level and it's admirable, but am I still happy, being someone who's 50 in the world and having those moments? Osaka coming back. Is Rafa going to be able to come back for one last run? Halep coming back. So your take on this is going to be very interesting to me because maybe I'm forgetting someone, but I think you probably had the best comeback of all time, most sustainable. You could argue even maybe not as far as volume because you played longer before, but the most impactful results of your career were after you came back the first time, and then you stopped, and then you tried again within the last 3 or 4 years, and it seemed like it didn't get off the ground. So I think you're like the perfect person to ask and talk about the difficulties of, what's different with Raducanu coming back when she's young versus Kerber or Rafa trying to fight back when they can't really trust their body. What were the differences between a successful comeback for you? And maybe you view the second one as it was successful because I tried, but it wasn't as if, you played, 3 years straight healthy and you had a run and you ended up in the top 10 again. So kind of describe the differences between, what was probably the most successful comeback of all time and one that maybe you wanted more out of.
Well, to keep it very simple, and the feeling that I have about coming back after I had Jada, I was in my mid-20s. Everything just went very smoothly. I had with my trainer back in Belgium, we had the numbers that we wanted to get to, whether it came down to kind of speed and agility, strength, all the numbers that we had from the past. Like I felt like I got to those numbers very quickly. I got my feeling back on the court, the motivation, which was something that for me was always super important, is the seeing, being motivated to take on the challenge of trying to work my way back into the tournaments. And then in my later, so what was that, mid-30s, I guess, everything was just so much harder. Like in my brain, I felt like, I can maybe not be as good as before, but my goal tried to be second week of Grand Slams, like trying to play the Grand Slams a week prior, maybe a couple of tournaments here and there. That was the goal. And I mean, stupid enough, my knee injury that kind of lingered throughout that whole phase, I was playing padel and I slipped and I had tore my MCL, like something really stupid. And I never recovered properly from it. Like, and it's, just being older. And there's a great part about getting older is that you know yourself better. You are able to read games better. I understand the game better than before. I understand myself better than before. But physically, it just, I wasn't able to. And then that becomes frustrating. You get frustrated with your body, with yourself, and you try to kind of fight through it. And you think, okay, I have to be disciplined. I'm going to try new things. But then, at the end of the day, you have to realize COVID kicked in there too. And I just wasn't able to maintain the daily push or the motivation to get to that point and to leave the family behind. And so I just called it quits. But it was kind of like, to me, I compare my last kind of comeback as like my girlfriends who try to run a marathon before they're 40. Like that's like they need a challenge like that. And I was like, this is my marathon. Like I'm trying to do this, and I know I'm going to get criticized, but I'm going to try it.
She's comparing a professional tennis comeback where she came back and played in the U.S. Open to medals for exercise. Like that's that's the comp. That's like
Seriously though, like,
that's
but
Kim's
that's my
reality
girlfriends are like,
versus
oh my god, like
mortal reality.
it. But it's true. Like my girlfriends were like, I want to try to run the marathon in Rotterdam or in Amsterdam or
That's
Berlin,
cute. Yeah, bless you.
and yeah, so
Did
tried to do it.
did age did age create its own pressure circumstances? So like if you're 22 and you have a setback, unless it's like a major blowout where it's something crazy, you know you're going to get back. You're just disappointed that you're missing time, right? Like you hurt your knee. Did it create its own sort of mental? I mean, I understand the physical part, but like a mental pressure set
For
where it's like,
sure.
I don't have 4 years, I have 12 months. And
Yep.
does that make it less enjoyable somehow?
I kind of like that battle of like trying to push and see how far, like the grind of like working with your trainer, like in the basement here, like to see like how far can I push this, like where can this knee go, and like I kind of like that pushing yourself. Did it cause pressure? Maybe a little bit. I do have to say, like um, so the year that the Indian Wells tournament got canceled because of COVID.
Pushed to
Um,
October, right?
yep, I was
Yep.
there and I had my first ever panic attack in my life.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so that was like, you talk about like pressure. Like I think I felt pressure. Like I wanted to do well. Like I felt like I was hitting the ball so well on court. Like I remember hitting with Kiki Burtons and with Alia Tomljanovic, and just I had such good practices. Like played practice sets, was beating girls in practice, but I just wanted to kind of prove it, like in a match, and during one of the practices, I just started like, yeah, really, like I had a panic attack on the tennis court.
What does
Never
that
had
feel
that
like?
in my
What does that
life.
feel like when it happens?
It felt
Like
like
I don't think I've had
for a
one. So
second I felt like I was being a drama queen.
that's like most of us daily, Kim.
Can I put my middle finger up?
Yeah, yeah, sure. It's a podcast.
There too.
Yeah. There you go. At least
um,
we have our new show opening. That's great. It'll live forever.
no, but like I was like, what is happening, Kim? Just take a deep breath, calm down. Like that's how I tried to talk to
Like a heart
myself
rate
into.
thing.
No, like I couldn't take a deep breath. Like I was
Oh,
like, huh. And my trainer was there. Like I was on court. I think it was court 4 or something in Indian Wells, um, and so my trainer was like, just lay down, put your legs up, and that like me calming down, or that wasn't working at all. So I was like, just give me like go stand, like to my tennis coach, go stand at the net and just hit towards me. So I had the rhythm of the sound of the ball, like the
it's
like
like
that,
distraction.
and that gave me like my breathing
Wow.
rhythm came back. And yeah, I talked to him about it the other day because he's now working with Ons Jabeur a little bit, um and when I was in Indian Wells, like I called him, like, remember the panic attack? Yeah, it was crazy.
It's so strange how like pressure manifests because like outside looking in, right? Our listeners are probably going, okay, uh, you know, you've had this successful career. You don't owe anyone anything. Your legacy is set in stone. You have a happy family. I know that you like your husband most of the time. Like it seems like everything's set. So therefore, there's certainly not any outside pressure on you, right? It's not as if
No, you
anyone's going,
create that
if Kim,
yourself, I
I
think,
know, but
right?
that's fascinating to me. But like, talk about how that works. Cause normally pressure's like outside, I need to win a slam. I know I have to, I know I can. There's expectation. I think I always say expectation, I think, is the hardest thing in sports, right? I think like the expectation is hard. But at that point, outside of your own expectations, like with everyone, like the world's expectations, you were always fine. Like you always dealt like not fine, but it was hard. Let's give it the credit it deserves, but it didn't end in you having a panic attack on the court. So outside looking in, it's like it's surprising for me to hear that your own pressure set of just wanting to play well in a match when you've done it hundreds of times in your
Yeah,
career was the thing that set it off. That's fascinating to me.
yeah, yeah. No, it came out of nowhere, and it really, like, I remember walking off the court back to the locker room and just thinking to myself, like, where is this coming from? Like, you really start to kind of unpeel the onion. Like, is this coming because I want to do well for my team? Because I know that they're there and they want me to do well, and we've worked so hard on getting my knee ready, and like all those things. And yeah, it's I don't know. Like, I still at times, like, I know I put a lot of pressure on myself and I tried to push it. And, I'm also at the same time thinking, like, my family wasn't there. Like, I'm doing this, Brian and the kids are at home. Like, is this the right thing to do? Like that kind of fight, like that battle
Yeah,
inside of your
guilt.
head, that, yeah, the guilt that
Yeah,
that I dealt with in my mid 20s, but you got over quickly. And you're able to, yeah, you balance it easier. But this just, yeah, it just didn't feel right.
man. I didn't. I think one of my favorite things that I'm surprised about from doing the show, and one of my like the best things, is that I learned something new that I would have never assumed from the outside looking in. And these are people, you're friends. Like, I'm close with James. I know Max. I've traveled with Brad forever, but I always learn something new that I would have been wrong on with an assumption. And I think that's my favorite part of having done this show so far. And I don't know what the macro takeaway is like someone's always going through something, right? Like,
Right,
even if
right.
it's not obvious to you,